Fun fact, almost everybody can look good in a bob shape. Yeah, but not every bob shape looks good on everyone. And today I'm going to break down exactly what bob would actually work best for you. I'm going to break down the 5 kind of most common overall bob shapes. I'm going to explain exactly what they are, most importantly, who they will function best for, what hair textures, face shapes, etc. And then if there's anything that you need to be aware of before you decide to get involved with it. I'm also going to share what I consider to be the most dangerous bob haircut. Yes, the most dangerous one. It sounds weird, but stick with me here. As well as my kind of fail-safe process so that you can actually explain to your stylist what bob you want and not hate your hair. So, number 1. Okay, in no particular order, the first shape is a lob. What is a lob? Well, a lob is simply a long bob. Most bob shapes, or a standard bob, is going to land the length basically at your chin, give or take about an inch shorter or an inch longer. A lob is going to land that length closer to your shoulders, or in some cases, even closer to like the collarbone area. So who is this shape best for? I find that lobs work really well on people that have a longer neck or a higher neckline, or if you've got a medium to thicker hair texture. Now, the reason that you want to, I don't want to say stay away from this, but be aware of this if you've got a thinner hair texture, is simply because the length alone means that you are limited in how you would go about layering a shape like this, so it may end up looking a little bit thin or sparse at the end. Now, what do you need to know about a lob? Well, the first thing you want to pay attention to is the fact that because they are so long to begin with, they can have a tendency to feel like they grow out quickly. Once they hit the shoulders, it's going to be a probability that they're going to start flipping out at the shoulders. And once they flip out, they kind of lose that overall bob essence, if you will, and they feel like they need to be cut back up to actually become a bob again. So it may be a little bit higher maintenance than what you might be wanting to get involved with. Now, the other thing you want to think about is if you do have a longer face, because of the actual length of a lob, it can have a tendency to elongate your face even more. So it may be a situation where you don't want to add more length to your face, and in that case, a longer length may not work best for you. Number 2 is a chin length bob. This is basically where all of the variants for bobs came from, and it's simply exactly what it sounds like. It's a bob that lands about roughly at your chin. Again, give or take about an inch, a little bit shorter or a little bit longer than the chin. So who do these work best for? If you feel like you've got a little bit of a longer face, this is a really good option because that length landing directly at or very close to your chin has a tendency to add a bit of fullness to your face. Also, if you have a thinner texture of hair, this is actually a pretty good option because that length being a bit shorter allows those layers to be cut a bit shorter. And with the length being closer to the hairline, it also has a tendency to support that layering a little bit better. And so you can make thinner hair look thicker through this length range. So what do you need to know about this? Well, if you've got a fuller face and or thicker hair, in both of those situations, you're going to want to make sure that you layer this. The concern is if you don't layer a length like this, it'll have a tendency to get very full on the sides. So the simple length alone, if you've got a full face, is going to add width. So you'll want to layer some of that bulk out of the sides to take some of that width back out. And then if you've got thick hair, it's also going to get full on the sides, and therefore you're going to want to layer it to take that bulk out of the sides again. Number 3 is the graduated bob. Now, this is just a bob that has graduation in the back around the nape. Now, this layering or graduation can be super severe or very aggressive, or it can be very minimal until it's just a very light bevel. So who does this work best on? Well, since this is the only shape we'll be talking about today that doesn't really dictate itself by a certain length range, we're really just talking about the way that we actually layer this shape. And therefore, this is like a 9 out of 10 people is going to work really well for it. So if you're a person that maybe you want to accentuate more cheek structure, maybe you want to lift your face a little bit more, adding that little bit of graduation or beveling does an incredible job of lifting that eye from that profile. Okay, and before we get into what I still consider to be the most dangerous bob on this list, if you're liking the content, well, why don't you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. And by the way, if you are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Justin Hickox. I've been doing hair since 1995. So this is what I do. I teach you about hair and teach what I've learned. There we go. Like it, subscribe, YouTube. Yay, YouTube. Back to the video. You're bored now. I know. Okay, number 4 is the one length bob. Yeah, and that is simply a bob that doesn't have layers. That was a tough one, right? Yeah, you're welcome. But it's definitely not for everybody. So who is it for? These shapes work great if you've got a medium to thinner density of hair. The main thing you want to be aware of with one length bobs, just that it gets so full at the bottom. Now, the thing about curly hair specifically in these shapes is that it's not that a curly hair texture can't work as a one length bob. Curly hair works so well with layering, it's really almost a disservice to not layer it. You can really open that shape up so much more, loosen the curl up, get a much stronger curl pattern. When you don't layer it on a shape like this, it's just kind of like it's not going to be as good, so why not just layer it and make it even better? And now we're on to number 5, and this is what I consider to be the most dangerous bob of all. Sounds so weird. Okay, work with me here. Number 5 is the Bixie. A Bixie is a bob that is a cross between a bob and a pixie. That is why I say it's concerning. So it's not that it doesn't look good. There's some amazing ones that look incredible. But the concern is that there's such a vast difference between a bob length and a pixie length. It's just so broad. Who is a Bixie for? A Bixie is really good at accentuating things like jaw structure, cheekbone structure, lifting the face, opening the face, drawing more attention to your eyes. If there's anything about your face that you really want to bring attention to, then these shapes are going to function really well for you. Because of the length, you're really able to cut more shape into the hair. Now, cutting shape into the hair basically means that you're using layers to create volume where you want to create volume, mainly by removing volume from the areas where you don't want volume. And this allows you to bring more emphasis to certain parts of your face that you want to bring more emphasis to. Now, what do you need to be aware of or concerned about before you get into these shapes? One, you want to recognize that depending on how short you go, it doesn't inherently mean that it's going to be less overall maintenance. This doesn't just mean maintenance from a day-to-day basis. This also means maintenance of how often you're going to be going into the salon to get it maintained. So both of those could go up. So let's talk about my process so that you can explain these shapes to your stylist so that you get the right cut. Well, first of all, one thing that I want to be very, very clear about is in any of these situations, these are all bob cuts, but they are all very different. And that's the key takeaway that I want you to pull from this video. Do not go into your stylist and name any of these names. So for me, the most important thing that you can do, and what I would want a client to do in my chair, is to bring in photos of what you like and what you don't like. Explain to them what you like about these couple of photos, and as important, if not more important, what you don't like about these photos. And the reason that what you don't like is so important is because if you just show them what you like, it still leaves room for interpretation as to what you like about those. So they don't ask you, what is it about these that you like? Then they don't realize that it's only the length. You didn't like the layering, I just liked where the length was. But I hope that helped, and if you have any questions, you know where I'm at. Comment below, let me know. That rhymed because I'm a rhymer. I'm a rapper now. No, I'm not. Okay, I'm gonna leave now, but I will see you next week. We'll see you then. Have a good one. Thanks for hanging out.